Hey everybody, welcome to the Glom Initiatives YouTube channel. This is Tracy Lamar Ray, and I want to thank you for coming back and tuning in. Today I want to discuss freedom and or bondage. I was listening to a speaker discuss his incarceration, and he explained that he came to the realization that his body may be imprisoned, but his mind didn't have to be. And that the only thing that he had full control over and agency over during that period of time of incarceration and imprisonment was his own thoughts and ideas and beliefs. And that was empowering to him. And it was inspiring to me to hear him speak about that. And I began to consider the ways in which we imprison ourselves. And there's so many different areas or aspects of life that we can find ourselves trapped in, from being emotionally trapped to psychologically trapped to physically trapped in unhealthy bodies, to being financially trapped, to being spiritually in bondage. We can even be trapped by our own material possessions. And as I was listening to this person speak, I thought of the importance of examining those areas of life where we can create cages for ourselves, and how we do that, why we do that, and how we can break free and reclaim our freedom around some of our thought processes and belief systems about these things. So from an emotional standpoint, it's very easy for us to get stuck in negative feelings, or as they are termed in psychology, affects. So moods that are associated with negative feelings and negative emotions: despair, depression, discouragement, fear, anxiety, overwhelm. All of these things can tend to put us in boxes, and we can ruminate over and over and over and limit our ability to experience positive things, which traps us, which, limits our freedom to experience other emotions. Sometimes even we can put ourselves in boxes because we're chasing a positive emotion to the extent that we're almost addicted to it. So that thrill-seeking behavior that some of us have, and that can cause us issues and limit our freedom, because we don't have a healthy relationship with sitting in feelings that are more balanced. Meaning sometimes you're gonna, have a positive emotion or a positive mood, and other times you're gonna cycle into sort of negative affects, and knowing that that is a normal process throughout the day to cycle between certain emotional states and mood states. The key is not to get stuck, but that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about our freedom and how we ourselves relinquish control and end up putting ourselves in these prison boxes. Psychologically, we can get stuck. We can have belief systems and ideas and behaviors that are very either toxic or problematic, like chasing a high, or pursuing a relationship to a detrimental level. If after a breakup, or maybe trying to desperately please someone in our life, because we have a belief system that tells us that if we don't have that person, then our life is not worth, doesn't have value, or not worth living, because, oh my gosh, I gotta have this particular relationship, and this particular relationship has to look like this and have these qualities. So we end up trapping ourselves, because of those beliefs, into thoughts that are distorted. And then we're trapped. Financially, we all can identify with not making enough money, feeling like we don't have enough, feeling and believing in lack, or possessing a lot of debt and feeling trapped financially, like you don't have freedom to make choices that you want to make, or do the things that you want to do, or even do the things that you have to do. So we can be trapped by, circumstances, finances. We can find ourselves trapped by our material goods. Some of us are paying for storage units. We have rooms in our homes that, are overflowing with things that either we don't use very often, or we don't know where to put them, or that we just don't even have use for. But we continue to hold on to these things, and they end up trapping us and limiting our freedom, because we are so attached to physical, material goods. And then finally, spiritually, sometimes we can get stuck in our spiritual lives where we're not feeling fulfilled, we don't have clarity. It's difficult for us to understand our own experiences, emotions, relationships, the things that we want, why certain things are happening in our lives, certain dynamics, and we begin to question our belief system in ourselves, and in our belief of a higher power, or universal energy, or the things that make the world turn, and how we fit into the scheme of things. So spiritually, we can be trapped and stuck. So what can we do to understand and address when we're feeling jammed up? How can we move from a mindset of incarceration to understanding and accepting that we really are, in most cases, freer than we believe that we are? One of the things I think that is super useful is to be still. Sometimes you just have to quiet the noise and shift your perspective. But you have to create space and room for that shift to happen. Basically, you have to plant fertile ground, or be standing on fertile ground, so you can allow your brain room to understand that it really isn't as the gentleman was speaking. It's really not, it's a prison that we make for ourselves. So the first thing that you can do is just be still and breathe and come out of panic, and understand that you are not, in fact, trapped. You do have choices, and that you are free to believe a new thing, do a new thing, pursue a different thing, and see things from just a different perspective. So here's an exercise. If you're feeling trapped emotionally, try to, in that moment of stillness, perceive the opposite of the emotion that you are feeling. So if the mood or the affect is, I'm not going to say panic, because panic is tough. Let's start with anxiety. I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling anxious. I'm almost in panic, but not quite. Sit still and just force a smile on your face. When you force a smile, it makes the neurotransmitters in your brain shift. It changes the amount, it changes the function, and just force a smile, even when you're stressed. That small exercise, minimal exercise, creates just enough of a gap for you to begin to shift your perspective, and you go from feeling anxious to a little more free and a little more calm. Here's another thing you can do. You saw how my shoulders were up? Drop your shoulders. Be still. Drop your shoulders. That is an exercise. Open your chest and your heart space. That opens up your brain and your body to a different alternative experience. Just go from this to this. And you have to sort of exaggerate it at first. So now you are aware of physically feeling like you're trapped to freedom and open up that space. So those are just two little small exercises in awareness that we can use when we're feeling emotionally stressed or negative or some sort of negative mood. And when that manifests itself, the stress manifests itself physically in our body, we can begin to shift and release that energy. And then one of the last things we can do to sort of remind ourselves that we're free and remind ourselves that there's room and that we're not in these boxes that we create for ourselves. I've said it before, I'll say it again, is we can journal. Now, if you're not in a place where you can write it down, you can count the things that you are grateful for at any moment in time. There are so many more things going for us than are not going for us, literally in every moment, but we get trapped and caught up and we don't think about them. We overlook them. You have billions and trillions of cells in your body, and the fact that I'm sitting here able to articulate sentences to you means that my cells are doing what they're supposed to do. So that's trillions of reasons to be grateful, because they're all doing what they're supposed to do in this moment. That's one thing to be grateful for. We can be grateful for the environment that we're sitting in, that, there's not a hurricane coming through here, that I can look at a beautiful blue sky, and that I can take in the greenery and the scenery and be so filled with abundance and gratitude that I can sit in this space and have this conversation, and that you can sit safely wherever you are and watch this video on your phone or on your television at home or on your computer screen, and that you're sitting in a space that is probably relatively safe. Some of you may be in crisis, and I acknowledge you all too. But even in crisis, you have many, many things to be grateful for. You have a brain that can understand what I'm saying to you right now and that you can comprehend it. That's another thing to be grateful for. So that's 3 right there. Again, so when we sit in the exercise of practicing gratitude, it trains us to release negativity. And the more we practice, the easier it is to control our emotional states. And so again, we go from feeling stuck to reclaiming our freedom. So hopefully this was a video that was interesting and useful and beneficial to you. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear your feedback and even your suggestions. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Do you have the courage to show up for your own life? To realize your vision and unlock your potential, contact GLOM Initiatives at 757-550-4987 or glominitiatives.com.